call the meeting to order. Let the record reflect all council members are present. We will move into our department summary reports, starting with code.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just some quick highlights from the report you have there in front of you. In the month of July, we had 36 code inspections. We were 40 permits. We had 7 new business licenses issued and had 5 businesses that closed theirs out. We had one ongoing project, Arby's, which should be complete in the next probably 60 days. And we're looking forward to that. The city marshal removed 27 signs from the roadway, wrote 78 repair cleanup orders. He investigated 3 tampering cases and wrote 6 citations. Historic Preservation Commission granted a COA for an expansion of a home at 205 West Highland Avenue. And the Planning Commission heard 2 matters which the council has subsequently approved. And beyond that, you'll see the demolition and cleanup list with the progress and updates that we've had so far this year.
Okay. Any questions for Patrick? Thank you, Patrick. Moving to electric and telecom, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. This year's been below budget across the board on electric kilowatt hour usage due to weather. We've had a couple of hot months during, a couple of hot weeks during July, but mostly we've been under temperature all summer long, and we were above normal temperatures during the fall and winter. But we're holding our own there. Telecom is pushed right at plus 4.5% for the year, which is good for internet and phone, but TV is still holding us back. Some items of interest to the LED lighting update. We've had an LED lighting project going on. We're about a third of the way through, or a little over a third of the way through, completely changing out all of our lights to LED. It's been positive. I've had very few complaints, maybe 2 or 3 out of the whole project. I'm sure we'll have more as we move forward. But we're about out of money in this year's project. This will probably get us going through into December, and then we'll be bringing the rest of the project to you in next year's budget. The Wayne Street Power project's moving forward. We've been trying to impact traffic as little as possible, and that's taking a little more of our time. We're also having to work very closely with Windstream, and that's taking a lot more of our time. But we're moving forward on that. We should be pulling wire if we get weather and the hurricane doesn't affect us. We should be pulling wire in the next week or so. The Colo Atlanta project is part of our redundancy project. That's where we're going to have 2 sources of internet in 2 geographically diverse locations. Right now we get all of our internet from 56 Marietta, which is a data center. This is another data center in Atlanta. We'll be bringing that project to you next month. It's pretty well close to budget, or actually under budget. Very happy with how it's moving forward. A couple things not on here. One is the hurricane. It is projected one of the possible paths is between 95 and 75, which puts us and some of our other cities right in the crosshairs. So hopefully it won't. Well, hopefully it'll push out in the ocean, won't bother anybody after it hits Florida. But I'll update you as we know more later on in the week. And the cable modem packages have worked great across the board. We've been doing some tinkering with how those levels are coming to the customer, and we should bring the new packages to you over hopefully next month. And I'll take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank y'all.
Finance.
Thank you, Mayor. The performance indicators are all within normal ranges. The 2 I'll highlight are the clinic. Its utilization percentage has been above 90% for the last 3 months. I guess colds and allergies have been the main reason to go. And the airport fuel continues to stay above that $12,000 price range for the last 6 months. Moving on to the financials, cash balances as of July 31st are still in relatively good shape for all funds. General fund we continue to dip into a little bit, but property taxes hopefully will be coming in the next couple months here, and that'll replenish the funds there. Expense-wise, general fund, utilities, and solid waste have all stayed below the 58% mark for the month of July. And some items of interest, we are still evaluating financial software. We're going to go visit another city, see what their likes and dislikes of that software are, and then hopefully we can finally make a decision on what we're going to do there. And budget, department heads turned in their budgets last week. We're starting to consolidate it all into one form, and Logan and department heads and I will get together and discuss that here in the coming weeks. And I'll take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Fire department.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the month of July, the fire department had 6 fires within the city, 144 EMS medical calls, 2 hazardous condition calls, 22 service calls, 52 good intent calls, and 11 false alarms, totaling out for 237 calls run for the month. We gave aid to Walton County Fire Rescue 4 times and received automatic aid from them 6 times. We had 3 public relations events, 320 hours of training, 18 building inspections, and did 2 arson investigations here in the city. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Police.
Thank you, Mayor. Our calls for service actually went up this month. We participated in 3,487 calls. We had received 1,867 calls to the police department. We had 394 court cases, and our officers participated in 271 training hours. We had 88 Part 1 crimes, 43 Part 2 crimes. We made 82 adult arrests and 2 juvenile. We issued 151 warnings and 197 citations, and we participated in 20 different community events. And I would be happy to entertain any questions if you should have any.
Okay, thank you, RV. Solid waste.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All of our material collection was down for the month of July. And the only other thing I want to mention is that we are in the middle of our collection route this week, a holiday collection. So Tuesdays and Wednesday customers will be picked up tomorrow, and Thursday customers will be on schedule. And I mentioned last month that we get a high number of calls about service collection, what to do, and all of that. So we put together, Ms. Patrice put together this brochure, just a snapshot of all of our services, all set out requirements. So we'll be putting some of these out, and you can go on the website, and it'll give you more detail on what to expect. We do have one in particular is what day is my pickup. So you can go on the website and go to our solid waste page, and there's a link that says pickup schedule, and every street in the city of Monroe is in alphabetical order, and the other column will have your date. And I'll take any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Danny. You doing streets and transportation, or Logan streets and transportation?
Gotcha. Beyond just the metrics that are in your packet, I just want to hit some highlights on behalf of Jeremiah. They've been wrapping up some loose ends from the paving projects that he mentioned last week. Namely some additional overlays and some transition areas on driveways on all those streets. Some of these were LMIG streets that he talked about last month. We have some striping coming up. Let me read you the list of streets to be restriped. Wayne Street, Washington Street, Poplar Street, Pine Park, Norris Street, and Davis Street. Obviously those have been well faded for some time, and we've had trouble finding reputable companies that actually are still in the striping business, oddly enough. So we've got one now, and we'll be doing that in the next few weeks. The sidewalk on Church Street will start back up next week. Now that some of that utility work on down the line is out of the way, we can get back over there and finish up that sidewalk on down almost to the end of the city limits. out on Church Street. And we keep the right-of-way maintained. We fell a little bit behind with a lot of the rains back in July, but we've had some guys out there working a little bit extra to try to get the right-of-way back up into a suitable condition. So we're playing a little bit of catch-up, so bear with us as we get back on schedule.
Okay, any questions? All right, water, sewer, gas, and stormwater, Rodney.
Thank you, Mayor. As far as the numbers for July, pretty consistent with previous months as well as July of 16. So I'll cover some of the projects we have going on. Georgia Hydrant started the hydrant replacements last week. We're pretty close to being about halfway through with those. The Jim Dawes Mountain Creek water extension, we should be rounding that one up by the end of this week. The CDBG, the bid opening is the 13th of this month, so we'll be winding that one down as well. And then we've got the 78, the gas main removal. It's actually on the agenda tonight. We'll talk about it later, as well as the Roosevelt, Roberts Hill, and Maple Street gas replacements. And then also just received a contract from a developer out on Dean Hill Road off Monroe Jersey Road. I think it's 13 estate lots, wanting natural gas. So we'll be extending that main as well. And also a reminder that September and October is our rebate rally for our natural gas appliances, the tankless and the tank hot water heaters. So you'll see some advertisements and banners and so forth next 2 months.
Does anybody have any questions for Rodney? Thank you, Rodney.
Thank you.
Now we'll move into our committee information. Finance, do you have anything?
We don't have anything this evening, Mayor.
Okay. Airport, Chris, got anything? Okay. Public Works.
I'll take that one. Before using IGA with Walton County for the Ammons Bridge Road culvert repair, back in August, this culvert basically blew out on Ammons Bridge right at the city limit line, and they had to call in an emergency repair, and our portion of this emergency repair is 25%, which was calculated on where the city limits cut across at that culvert. The alternative for not doing this was imminent collapse of Ammons Bridge Road right there at that culvert. So this was a far cheaper alternative to have that emergency repair authorized, and I went ahead and agreed to pony up to 25%. So this is just an official IGA to get this done.
Okay.
The total cost of that is $11,425.
Anyone on the committee have any questions for Logan? Do I hear a motion that we recommend to the full council approval of the intergovernmental agreement with Walton County? So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approved. That's all we have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Utilities.
Thank you, Mayor. First item that we have is presentation from Clearwater GMC Engineering. Rodney, do you want to say anything?
Yes, we have Steve K. Wood, Barry Dunlap, and Chris Thomas here from GMC Engineering, and making a presentation about the operational energy assessment optimization study that we recently completed at our wastewater treatment facility.
I'm Steve K. Wood. Thank you for the opportunity to be before you tonight. Our engineering firm, as Rodney said, is GMC. We're a 70-year-old firm. Real quick introduction on that. We were founded 70 years ago as a water and wastewater engineering firm, so that's a big part of our history, and have grown with our clients to about a staff of about 400, and we have 4 offices in Georgia, Atlanta, Augusta, Savannah, and Albany. Again, water and wastewater is our business. Also with me tonight, introduced Barry Dunlap as Rodney, and next to him in the dark blue shirt is Chris Thomas. He's with a subsidiary company of ours, Clearwater Solutions, that we started about 10 years ago to assist clients in optimization and operation of water and wastewater systems. So we've been on site here since really mid-May, something like that, and I want to give you a brief assessment of it. Your wastewater plant, most of you are familiar, built in 1992, upgraded in the early 2000s to meet changing discharge limits at the plant itself. So basically you have a 20, 30-year-old plant that needs repair and maintenance, and you are systematically working through that in a manner that I think you'll find very pleasing. A basic description of a plant, it's very similar to a lot of plants that were designed 30 years ago. It's got influence screens, it's got sand or grit removal, it's got primary clarifiers, it's got something that a lot of the modern plants don't have, but is very energy efficient. The big tall towers out there, we call them trickling filters or bio towers. You have aeration basin that was added right in the early 2000s, followed by secondary clarifiers, chlorine gas to disinfect it prior to going to the creek, and anaerobic digestion, and followed that by drying beds. I'm telling you this a little bit. If you were to design a plant today, it'd be a little bit simpler, a little bit more compact laid out. It'd be very expensive to meet the modern requirements. This plant is working fine when everything is working. The good news is you're presently in compliance right now. Had a real good summer after some violations on your discharge earlier, but you're in great shape right now, turning out a really good quality water. You're regularly replacing equipment. Rodney's been before you to replace the primary clarifier operations and also the bio tower, the trickling filters, which was about a pretty expensive item, about $150,000, that will be coming up late fall, early winter itself. So you're regularly replacing it. You know, a new plant could cost $30, $40, $50 million, depending on what the type plant you want to build and such. You also have plenty of capacity out there for the city's growth, anticipating some growth, residential, industrial, commercial. Again, you're meeting and can continue to meet your discharge limits out there. It's very efficiently designed. Part of our study was looking at power consumption and such. Wastewater plants and water plants are one of the biggest, if not the biggest, power users in a city, public or private itself. Because of the plant, some of these features that I mentioned, it's very energy efficient. You use energy in a very efficient manner. The negative on that is, as I said, you've got a few more operations and such than you would with a newer plant. Just requires systematic maintenance and staying on top of it, which you are continuing that process. We looked at the plant structurally. Plants are typically a lot of concrete tanks. Tanks look to be in good shape, even though they're almost 30 years old. Some of them, they've no need of repair there, got a long useful life ahead of them. And basically our recommended route is continue what you're doing, implement a very phased capital improvement plan that's needed out there. Again, you've got 20 to 30-year-old equipment, regularly replacing it, and also putting it under a continued computer maintenance program where you maintain it on a regular basis, preventive maintenance, and that sort of thing. So, you know, that's basically my presentation, and I'm here to answer any questions that y'all might have.
I have two questions.
Yes,
One, in regards to capacity, you said we got plenty of capacity if we grow both industrially as well as residential.
That is correct. We look very carefully at every operation out there, the pipe sizes, everything, and you've got the capacity to grow as you anticipate.
The second question, I know you referred to a new plant costing $30 to $40 million. At the way we're going now with systematic upgrades, can we, in a relatively short period of time, have the plant where it needs to be for a fraction of that?
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, very much so. We put some numbers to it, have not totally refined our cost estimates and such, and I don't want to get down in the weeds. You asked an engineer a question, he could talk forever on some of the details. I know you don't want that. But a big part of the plant is handling the solids that you're having to get out of it, that you remove from it. You use anaerobic digestion right now. Very energy efficient process, very, very complicated to operate, very expensive to maintain. One of the things that we've mentioned in our proposal is utilize the tanks that are out there right now and use what's called aerobic digestion. So depending on, and it's much cheaper, much easier to maintain and such as that. Coming back to your question, yes, sir, I think we've got a budget in the, the $4 million range, something all total, some of which you've already spent, some of which you've already authorized and not yet spent. But yes, sir, somewhere in that neighborhood right there would get you in really good shape.
Good, thank you.
How long would that carry us through before we're gonna need to do a total upgrade?
Well, I think it's mechanical equipment, provided that you maintain it like you need to. I would think typically you get 10-year life, something like that, out of this. A lot of these equipment replacements, because it's coming up on 26 years, something like that, it's pretty substantial replacement costs and repair costs right now. Again, I think you generally expect a 10 to 15-year life on equipment that we're replacing. Regular maintenance is going to be required along the way, a very small fraction of that.
Okay. Any more questions?
And what would be the turnaround time to bring it up if we voted to go in this direction?
Well, again, you're in compliance right now, but to really replace the equipment and such as that, it's probably about a year's process, something like that, to get it to where we would all like for it to be. Chris has been out at the plant. Chris, you have anything else you want to add to that at all?
It's a nice facility. With a little upgrade, would be a great plan.
Thank you very much
Yes.
for bringing that to the...
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks.
Next item is the roof repair at the old water plant building.
We're going to tag team this list of things as we go through. The old water plant building, I know it's been something that's been in the CIP for numerous years. We had originally budgeted $125,000 for the replacement of it. That was the long section of roof that actually, I guess, would run on the west side of the building if you're sitting looking at, or if you're standing looking at the front. We actually, because of, you can flip through and kind of see the pictures that are in the back. That's the floor in the building, the roof. You can see it's sitting in about, I don't know, probably a foot or two of water, give or take. And that's all. There are 4 roofs. The original plan was to replace that one that I just mentioned, but we actually, through the years, it's gotten worse. And we're actually asking for the approval to fix the entire thing, which would throw the other 3 sections in, and that's why the amount of that 237 is a good bit higher than 125. We went through the same process we've done with City Hall, the community building, and the Art Guild recently that we approved. We went through the same company using U.S. Communities. Horizon Roofing came back as the low bid at that $237,548 number. If Rodney's got anything to add, or if you guys have got any
The warranty,
questions.
what would the warranty be?
The warranty is, was it a 30 or 40 year?
I think it was a 30.
I think it is a 30 year.
I'm surprised you don't have mold inside that building.
Yeah, it's possible. Part of the added expense too is that we notice, you can see in the pictures where you've got water standing, there's no slope to that roof. So part of the expense is, once everything's torn off that's old and existing, is to add a slope to it so it'll drain towards the gutters, which will be replaced as well.
That makes sense.
So the whole gutter system is on the Marable Street side.
Right.
Water can't drain off the backside because of the basins. So never was, whenever the last roof was put on, it wasn't pitched out to the gutters. So that's why I think it's the third, actually the first, fourth picture. Those are actually two of the roofs. You can see they're holding basically just pools. In the first picture, you can actually see the gutter opening to the right. You can see how much more water's got to go in there before it ever makes it to the gutter.
So what's the planned use of the building?
If you go, let's see, it'll be the second and third picture is actually being used currently. That's our backwash for our, the sand filters, or not the sand filters, but the membranes. So that part of the building is still being used. The rest of the building, we had talked about maybe doing some office space once the roof's done, but it's kind of up in the air.
Do we have any idea how much more money in addition to this roof is going to take to make the building what it needs to be?
Structurally, the only thing is the roof. You'll notice in the pictures, the second and third, you'll notice that we've already put some metal on the walls and the ceilings to try to cover up some of the walls. And
Were those plaster walls, I would think?
they're brick. And unfortunately, they were painted, and there's lead-based paint.
Ah,
And then somebody covered it with another coat of paint that's not latex, or not lead-based. So instead of sanding them or doing anything to disrupt the,
yeah.
on the walls, we
Particles.
just covered up. So, but like I said, the biggest thing is the long section, which would be the last picture. That's basically just sitting vacant.
And I guess the reason I asked the question is just, we're talking about spending a lot of money on a building. Is the building worth it? That's the question.
Well, unfortunately, under this, on that very last picture, under that floor is a lot of the piping. And the pipe, you still got to have the piping for the water that's going through the system there for the treatment. So you couldn't tear the building down. It would have to, just because of all the piping. Once the roof's replaced, I think that long section would make a nice, like I said, some additional office space or
Well, and then too,
something. We could do something.
you've got on the other side, once the watershed assessment comes back with stormwater, and once testing and everything
Yeah.
starts for that, there's a lab that's built in that side that can be utilized for that without us having to build another lab
Yeah, actually,
to actually
the
have
second
that. So
picture.
that was the intention of the east side.
Yeah, the
That
second
would
picture, the hallway, the door to the right, actually that's the old water plant lab. So we would make a few updates there and use it as our stormwater lab part.
As far as the extra expense too, with the CDBG construction falling into 2019, that was an additional $250,000 that was in the CIP that wouldn't be utilized. So we pulled from that to be able to basically fund and still stay under the CIP for the entire year.
So by spending this additional money that was not budgeted for this project, what projects would not be done?
That CDBG that's not being performed this year, you're basically pulling out, what, 112,000? It would have originally been 250,000 that we would have spent this year, so we're utilizing 112 of that to go ahead and do the roof system for everything, because we had the 125 already in the budget.
The CDBG won't actually start till towards the end of the year, so we wouldn't pay
Touch it.
anything until January, February in the next year's budget. So,
And this is going back with the same type roof.
yes,
It's
going
on,
back with the membrane.
because we had discussed at one time possibly changing it.
We looked at doing a metal roof with the gable, but we got into the issue with the drainage off the back side of the building and the basins there. So then we looked at doing the flat roof. The issue we had there was all the vents would have to still come through the roof to allow some ventilation in that building. And one of the pictures, you can see the heat and air unit that sits out on the roof, which is for the upstairs office space. So it'd be hard to accommodate that with a shed roof.
And with the almost $100,000 difference in the two lowest bids, they're quoting apples for apples, everything.
Yes, ma'am. It was double checked to make sure that they were aware of what they were bidding, just because there's almost 100,000 between the three.
Yeah,
There's
there is.
100,000 between first and
Exactly.
second, and then second and third. So I would say
Wow.
number three probably bid it, knowing they wouldn't get it because they're busy, and
True.
yeah, that would be my guess.
It's a lot more expensive than what we anticipated or talked about in last year's budget meetings, but, I mean, really, it's twofold. You're protecting the integrity of your water supply here by fixing this roof. And two, there's a lot of room for potential uses for the city, so that we don't have to build additional facilities, especially for the utilities.
And Horizon has, I mean, they're familiar with these type roofs, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we recommend to the council approval of this to Horizon Roofing in the amount of $237,548.
It's a motion by Mr. Bradley. Is there a second? I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, we'll recommend that we fix the roof for $237,000 to the full council. Next item is materials for natural gas main replacement. Rodney or Chris, you gonna do?
Yeah, I'll keep going. C and D actually go together. C is the material for the job, D is the labor to install that material. We'll cover C first, obviously. Sent out for bid the material to do the Roosevelt area natural gas main replacement. It's basically converting steel to plastic, which follows consistent with our CIP in previous years to eliminate all steel mains within the system. Low bid came back at $18,923.25 from Consolidated MTD. Didn't provide much of a bid on any of the material.
So basically, we just didn't get any more bids, other than
Yeah,
MPD.
there were, in the state of Georgia and with gas pipe, it's pretty much restricted to a vendor and a supplier within the state. So you're limited.
Okay.
Is there a motion to approve purchase of materials?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Bradley. Is there a second? I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We recommend the purchase of the materials for the natural gas main replacement to the full council.
All right, so then to carry on and jump into D, and I'm really hoping y'all approve this one since we've got the material, was the, we put out for seal bid from July 10th, closed on August 10th. Four contractors picked up the bid package, 3 provided bids. The lowest bid came back at $143,801. That was with Harrison and Harrison, and that's to install the material that we just received approval for.
And this is again to use those same materials we just approved.
Yes, sir.
For the Roosevelt area.
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion that we recommend to the council for approval.
There's a motion. Is there a second? I second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Committee recommends the contract for the natural gas main replacement to the full council. Next item is contracted services for the natural gas main reroute.
Sir, this was a bid performed by GMC Network, design, engineer, and everything. This is to remove the natural gas main off of the Highway 78 overpass, and then to reroute the gas line to our take station at the corner of Sorrel and Broad Street. Bids were obviously a little higher than what we had budgeted. We had three contractors actually pick up the bid. One provided a no bid, and then the two that came back were Harrison and Harrison and D-Lance Souther, with the total bid being $505,106.25. Take any.
And I'll explain the difference in one of the reasons the price is so much higher. When we originally started the job, our plan was to bore under 78, basically remove it from the bridge, which would have been about a 1,500-foot bore. Well, we found out through DOT that because it's limited access, we weren't allowed to do that. So basically they were requiring us to go down 78 a little ways and get out of the limited access area and then cross over 78. So it went from a 1,500-foot to about 3,900-foot job. So basically what it'll do now is it'll go down to, if you turn on Sorrel's, turn on Boost that goes in front of the old Carver School, it goes all the way down to the sharp curve. That's where we'll cross 78 at, and then we'll put the new line all the way up Booth and come into Sorrel's, come into our warehouse to the new take station. So, but basically we'll have a whole new pipe too now from the take station to Transco. That pipe is there existing now, it's in the northbound lane of traffic from the time it leaves our warehouse all the way to Transco, and it's put in the 1950s. So we thought that would probably be the best option, being that we're going to have to move that far down to just come on up Booth instead of coming back up the other side of 78 and trying to tie back into the old existing pipe again. And then also when we got that far along, got the engineering done, DOT come back and is requiring us to remove the old gas main out from under the bridge. Our original thoughts were we'd kill it on each side of the bridge, and they're not going to accept that. They want us to completely remove it from the bridge. So those two things is what's added to the cost of the job, and also the next item was with the additional engineering services.
And two, in this bid itself, that's labor and material, so there's nothing separate, that's everything.
So what are our options on this? What if we just don't do it?
You will have to.
You'll have to.
You're going to have to coat. You got to figure out a way to coat the pipe that's hanging on the bridge now. The only issue is there's concrete, where all the concrete pilings or braces are. Our gas main goes through that concrete without a sleeve. So there's no way to coat that. And with that, with the steel pipe and the moisture from the concrete, we know the pipe's eat up. It's not leaking yet, but we know it's eat up. It's got to be. So it's just a matter of time. Once it gets outside of that concrete, we're going to have trouble. That's a high pressure. That's 450 pounds. If it goes, that bridge is gone.
We were hoping GDOT was going to put this bridge replacement on a short-term work program. That didn't happen.
At first we were told that it was actually on the replacement list. Then when we got a little further into it, it was removed, I guess, at some point, or there was some misunderstandings.
Will GDOT not help us out? You know, I mean, if we don't do it, the bridge is gonna go.
That's what I'm.
We've actually got a 10-inch water main hanging up under there too, so.
Well, that ain't gonna put it out.
At some point, at some point, that's gonna have to come down too, but that's, the main issue reason we're doing this is because of the corrosion on that high-pressure gas main that's hanging up on the bridge.
But I'm with the mayor. I mean, it seems like GDOT should contribute something here. I don't know.
I will certainly ask again.
Can we?
They're okay with you wrapping if you wanna wrap it, but it's not gonna solve
just
the
not a
problem.
long-term
We still got the
solution.
corrosion that we can't get to.
I'd say the project's gotta be done. I say we go ahead and vote for it, but if we can get some money back out of this from, and maybe we need to, contact our state senator and state representative to see if we can get some help in this situation here. Cause it is a danger to the traffic, if, you never can tell. We can play it up however we need to see if we can get some help. But,
Yeah.
if they can help us out a little bit, we're not I-285, but, it is
Right.
Highway 11. The bridge goes, it's gonna cause some traffic problems.
The other issue I got, Rodney, you're talking about the limited access. 878 limited access all the way out to Cherry Hill?
I'm not really sure on that. I don't know if
you're
they granted
talking
us,
about-
I'm not sure if they granted us something to cross at Booth or what. The engineers kinda handled all that. I just know that they agreed to let us cross there.
It looks like that's still limited access,
Yeah, whatever it is, they approved permits that were put together.
but they won't approve it back at the bridge. where
Right.
we're-
They approved it at the spot that we proposed to cross.
Probably one of the reasons they wouldn't approve it at the bridge was when they do replace it, there's gonna be a bridge built right back on top of our main again. Cause they're gonna have to build one to the side, we don't know which side, but they'll have to build one in order to tear that one down or reconstruct it or whatever. So they probably want us a certain distance away from it for future bridge rehab, I would think.
Has finance worked through this as to how it's gonna be handled?
Well, what we'll end up doing is kind of shuffling around some of those other CIP projects, particularly in gas and other infrastructure items that we had within his gas budget to make it work. We have the CIP cash on hand, so the total amount that we had scheduled to spend won't be exceeded. It's just we're gonna have to reshuffle and reprioritize these projects.
And I guess my concern there is, we went through CIP budgeting last year, and these were all critical things that need to be done. And now we are gonna approve this, but I think, but with this one and the one we just did a little bit ago, there's a significant amount that we're not going to do that we had talked about doing.
We're gonna accomplish as much as we possibly can this year based on what you guys approved in CIP for 2017. Obviously, some of these projects are a little more complicated once you really start doing the legwork and digging in on the engineering. Some of them just go slower, and then some of them become so complicated and so much more expensive that, it just slows things down, but we're gonna absolutely try to accomplish everything we can on that list.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve this at $505,106.25. With
Have a
Land
motion
Soda
to
being
approve. Is there a
the company
second?
to do it, that we recommend approval to the full council on it. And with that made, though, I will still encourage staff
Have a motion.
to
Is there
do
a
what we
second?
can do to find some additional money.
I'll be on the phone call with our state representative, senator, and kind of urge them to see what they can do with GDOT and see if they can find some money in the state somewhere, because it is a critical issue.
We have a motion. Is there a second? I'll second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? No one's opposed. The motion carries. We recommend this to the full council. Next item. You handling that, Mr.
Yes,
Bailey?
This will be, a lot of the previous explanation will fall in line for this. It's the additional expense that GMC Network incurred upon the design, simply because what we had originally had approved was actually crossing underneath and boring just beside Highway 78, but the additional expense, the redesign, moving it down so many feet and adding thousands of feet of pipe incurred different designs. They kept working back and forth with the DOT to get the permitting and everything approved. So it's the additional expense of $23,700 for this project design. What was the original? It was 7,000?
70,
70 something?
$7,200, I think, was the original
Right.
bid on the gas.
So that would put it roughly at 30,000 total for the overall design, engineering, and permitting of the project.
So what's the total cost of the whole project? With all these things we just voted
30,000
on?
plus 505, so the 535 roughly would be the engineering and the labor, material, everything.
So a little over $500,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any further questions about the additional cost?
Tell me that it was originally $7,200, and because of these changes, it's going to 30,000?
It's where it went from the 1,500 feet to the 3,900 feet. And then the engineering that was required, DOT required us to do a traffic, we actually had to engineer a traffic plan for removing that pipe. We've got to control traffic on top of the bridge and also on 78. And so there was some, I've never heard of it, but it had to have an engineer a traffic plan for that, for those two highways, just to remove the pipe.
So that's gonna cost us, it's basically cost us about $450,000 extra dollars for DOT's requirements,
Correct.
basically. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I move we recommend approval.
Have a motion, is there a second? I second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We recommend approval to the full council. You gonna keep going, Chris?
Might as well. This is for the purchase of an Altech model AT37G. It's a 2017 Dodge Ram 5500. It's another cable electric truck that's consistent with one that we bought in 2015
Exact same model.
to replace one of the older models and to surplus
Well,
that's
the truck is
existing.
replacing a 1987 bucket tool, the back part, on a 2001 chassis. It was discussed at CIP meeting, we budgeted $110,000, we came in at $97,876.
Yeah, which I actually think is a little bit cheaper than the one we bought 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was, and I was very surprised.
Mhm.
It was a little cheaper.
Question?
This truck, is it a small, relatively
Yeah, it's
small?
on is it 5500 chassis?
Yeah, it's a Ram 5500.
We went to Dodge chassis. Dodge chassis are a little cheaper. They also have been giving us better service. The Cummins engine is just a strong motor. We've had some trouble out of the Ford 6.0s and the Ford 6.4s. Hopefully we'll have better luck out of the 6.7s. We do have one of those in the fleet. But we've had absolutely no trouble out of the one we bought in 2015.
And this is the basic chassis, the body and the lift and all that will come from the other vehicle?
No, this
This
is all brand new.
This is
All
everything.
brand new. Yeah, we did
Okay.
that back in 2001. We took that 87 tool off of the 87 pickup truck and put it on a 2001 chassis. But that tool's done. I mean, it's been around since 87, been reworked twice. So I think we've got all we can get out of it.
Okay. Is there any other questions? Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a motion? Is there a second? I second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We recommend the purchase of the 2017 by average around 5,500 to full council.
Thank you.
Lisa? Okay. Next thing.
Okay, no money in this one. So a relief, we can breathe a little bit. This is just a standard process that we're going through some new requirements that the Department of Community Affairs, the DCA, is requiring us to do for our CDBG projects coming up in the future, that you bid out the grant administration and the engineering services. The grant administration was bid out, and staff through evaluation processes chose Allen Smith Consulting, and just need council's blessing to proceed with that. Vote approval.
Do you need a vote tonight?
This will go through committee.
Okay.
Correct.
Is there any questions for Chris on this? Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Ms. Bradley, is there a second? I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Yeah.
Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. We recommend approval of that full council.
Sir?
The 2018 engineering services.
Yep, and then to keep going the second half of this, you've got the grant administration that was Allen Smith. It's the exact same requirements from DCA for CDBG projects. We actually had a good many submit on this one through staff's recommendation and evaluation. We chose Hofstadter and Associates to proceed with engineering services for the 2018 CDBG grant. Need approval for that.
This will also go through committee.
There
I'll
any
make the
questions?
motion
Motion.
for approval, to recommend approval.
Motion by Ms. Bradley. I second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We recommended that full council approval.
All right, and I'm going to sit down, and I thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Public safety.
Mayor, we've got one item on the agenda tonight under public safety, approval of out-of-state training. Bill, you want to take that?
Yeah, thank you, Jimmy. We're looking for approval for out-of-state training, and there was a slight change that came through today. The U.S. Fire Administration actually contacted us and informed us that these classes are being canceled due to the FEMA's need for the facility for the hurricanes in Texas right now. What I would like to do is continue on with the approval of this out-of-state travel for training, because we know they're going to reschedule the class. We just don't know when, but put it for the 2017 year and go ahead forward with that. But what we're looking for is the approval for out-of-state training for our fire marshal and Captain Armstrong to attend the National Fire Academy. And I'll be happy to answer any questions y'all might have.
Anybody have any questions on this? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion?
That we base it on the 2017 calendar year instead of a specific month.
Got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Any opposed? We'll recommend this full council next week. That's all we have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Economic development.
I think Sadie has lots of great news.
Good deal. We love great news.
Thank you. I wanted to report that we did do our annual Downtown Development Authority retreat in August, and we'll have a full report with our 2018 goals before the year end. We'll have someone from our board to present that. But the focuses of those plans for 2018 are going to be in these areas: parking and parking management, encouraging infill development and redevelopment, especially off of Broad Street, so continuing the growth of downtown kind of wide east-west rather than just north-south, restaurant recruitment, and encouraging more downtown living development, whether that's lofts or housing, but more people able to live downtown because of our waiting list with our lofts that we have. Also want to note that the DDA closed on the gas station building. It's the Monroe Auto Brokers, 202 East Spring Street, as well as 115 Midland, so South Midland. And so both of those are part of this restaurant recruitment effort. We have a restaurant we're putting together a development agreement now. Hopefully we'll be able to announce that by January of 2018. And we have another restaurant that's also in the process of applying for downtown development revolving loan funds. So soon we'll probably have, through the DCA and the Georgia Cities Foundation, we'll most likely have 2 restaurant projects that'll be using those funds within the calendar year of 2018. So you'll see those soon. We also were at our Georgia Downtown Association annual conference a couple weeks ago, and we took away 2 awards this year for Business of the Year. Rents, Bath & Body won that, and we also received Board Member of the Year for Lisa Anderson and her service. So we're very pleased and honored to get that this year. With our Georgia Initiative for Community Housing, our next retreat's coming up in Athens on September 19th and 20th. This will be wrapping up our 2nd year in this program. And so far with our housing assessment, we have gathered data on 2,222 housing units within the city of Monroe. And I do have a link that I can share with you, or you can go ahead and start looking at what that data looks like mapped. And the other things to mention as far as downtown and tourism activity is the Smithsonian Hometown Teens exhibit will be here September 16th to October 28th. We won a grant through the Georgia Humanities Council to host this exhibit, and we are the last stop on the tour. We've been waiting this for 2 years. So it'll be here. We'll have a lot of events going on in relation to that during mid-September through October. We'll have posters. I'll get details out to you about all that. And we did move the concert to September 15th. So we'll do our last concert of the season, Swing Medallions, will be on September 15th, rescheduled from last Friday night. Be happy to answer any questions you may have on all those items.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. Items coming up for discussion, we have an upcoming public hearing on a rezone annexation, 1050 Good Hope Road and 1054 Good Hope Road. Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate y'all saving the best for last. I'll try and be brief. Like you said, we do have a rezone annexation coming up for 51.07 acres at the 2 addresses you mentioned. It's for development of 138 lot subdivision that's planned right now, subject to change based on conditions of the property. The recommendation that we've come up with through the Planning and Zoning Commission and the staff is to approve with recommendations, and the recommendations will be maximum of 3 units per acre, front facades to have brick, stone, stucco accents, with the remainder of the home to be the same material or wood or fiber cement siding, and that all state waters be delineated on the plans, seeing as how one of them was omitted from the original submission. Now, so the recommendation on that would be for approval. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
These price range houses are?
I think from the 160 to just under 200 range.
So these are the houses we're really looking for.
Workforce, affordable housing type homes, but with a little bit more of an upscale look. So the facade will be much more attractive than what we may have grown accustomed to over the years. So any other questions on
Edward, as you look at this development, do you see any downside?
Not really. I mean, it's growth. It's going to be quality building based on appearance, and it will, like I said, it'll give that mid-range, mid-income family a place to come and move to Monroe and contribute to our town. So really don't see anything. It's not too much of an overcrowding issue, seeing as how they've limited the density to 3 per acre, even though the houses may be closer together, and there'll be some reserve space. So the lots won't be huge, but it'll give some green space along with the development. So not a lot of downside. If there's anything you're concerned with, I'll be happy to address it more specifically.
From that last comment, are you saying the lots could be smaller than 1/3 of an acre because of set aside green space by way of this type of zoning?
Yes, and I mean, and that's pretty typical, but the lot size is larger than the zoning that they're requesting, which is R1A. which would only require 7,500 square feet, if I'm remembering correctly. But anyways, all of these are close to 10,000 and plus, so, and there's some up to 16,000 square foot lots. So again, it's not
We
gonna.
couldn't see this I couldn't see the plat. It was blurry when you blew it up. I don't know if anybody else had that problem. But,
Well, we'll try and get a full-size scan in there so that you can look at it better
Okay, that'd be great.
before next week's meeting. No problem at all. But yeah, considering who's doing the development and his track record and the designs he's submitted, and we got to see what goes on the ground. But from what we've seen so far, it looks like a promising development for affordable housing.
I'll also note that this is a neighborhood that we will completely serve with our utilities, all utilities.
Any other questions for Patrick? Thank you.
Sir.
And then we have an application for beer and wine sales, The Market. Thought they already had a beer and wine license. Did they change ownership?
Patrick, the Market,
The Market,
Did
did
they-
they change
is that a new
ownership?
one?
Yes, that's what's
Okay.
correct. So they're
Okay.
just reapplying.
All right. Any questions? With no other business, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Richardson,
Second.
second by Mr. Adcock. All in favor? This meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much.